Well, China seems to have done quite well, at least, in preventing a second wave, which Europe is really struggling with at the moment. I spoke earlier to Kerry Allen, who's a BBC China media analyst, and asked her what China has done that has seen it prevent that second wave where other countries have failed.
With very aggressive, very fast, strict lockdowns and mass testing. So what I've seen throughout the year, I mean, ever since going back to January with the situation with Wuhan, if there have been cases since in an area, I mean, there have been outbreaks in Beijing, the capital, in Xinjiang in the northwest. What's happened is very, very quickly, the government has announced that everybody in that entire city or specific region will be tested. It doesn't matter if they have symptoms, if they don't have symptoms, they are all mass tested so that the government can identify who might have the virus. So that's been done to basically, there's been like a focus on a specific area, and that's meant that anybody who's in that area, if they've got the coronavirus, if they come into contact with the coronavirus, they can be identified very, very quickly and then quarantined.
Because I think it's fair to say there's been a fair degree of scepticism in some sectors in the West about whether what China is saying is happening is actually happening on the ground. But you would put it down to the fact that they are just taking a very different approach, perhaps, to what we're taking in the West.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, China is, it's got a very strict media environment. So what happens when Chinese people turn on the TV or they open a newspaper, they're all seeing the same shared message that COVID-19 is a serious virus and that it can kill. It doesn't just affect elderly people, it can affect absolutely anybody. And so this is a message that everybody has received and thought, right, this virus is extremely serious and we need to react accordingly. And also, I mean, China is an authoritarian state, so people understand that if they don't comply with these laws, there could be consequences. So they could be publicly shamed online. And this is a country with 1.4 billion people. So if one person is shamed, you know, there's a lot of people that are going to see them shamed. So, yeah, people have very much towed the line. It's also worth mentioning as well that normally in winter, if Chinese people have just a cold, they will wear masks anyway because China learnt from the experiences of the early 2000s when it experienced SARS. So people have seen a widespread epidemic before and they know how to react quickly and how to look after themselves and others.
And this plan now to test, 9 million people over the course of 5 days, from what you've seen China do over the past 9 months or so, is that credible? Are they likely to hit that target?
It is absolutely credible, yes. I mean, this morning I've been looking at newspapers and watching TV and I've seen queues already of people. Testing points have been opened straight away from 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. at night, and people have been queuing throughout the night to get tests very, very quickly. It's been effective in other areas where I've seen these localized lockdowns, so in Urumqi in the northwest, in Dalian in the northeast. So yeah, basically people understand that it's in their benefit to get tested, and it's been free so far for people in these regions to get these tests. So it just kind of takes the fear out of people that that they know either way, if they've got the coronavirus, if they might have it because they might be asymptomatic, at least they know and they're doing their bit. So they've not got that fear that there might be somebody who's moving around on the streets who is possibly asymptomatic and don't even know that they've got the coronavirus. That way everybody is tested.
It's a tricky one, isn't it, for the West when you look at lessons that might be learned? Because yes, we could perhaps go down the route, and perhaps we should go down the route in a more effective manner in terms of the mass testing. The authoritarian nature of it is a whole different ballgame, isn't it? There are certain things being done in China from what you're saying that just simply wouldn't wash here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there have been concerns for Chinese people in general, security concerns. I mean, thinking before COVID-19, there was a lot of concern about facial recognition entering the country. So people were getting used to the idea of this increasingly entering apps. When you go on the subway, you're using facial recognition. And China basically saying, you know, a lot of Chinese people saying that this technology is developing very, very quickly and it might have flaws, and hackers, for example, could access people's information very, very quickly. So it is a country with a huge population. So there are questions about how this data might be exploited.
Well, that's Kerry Allen talking about the plans to test, a mass test of 9 million people in 5 days in the city of Qingdao in China. Brings us to 5:42.